England is one of the 4 countries that make up the modern United Kingdom, along with Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland. It is the largest in terms of both territory and population. For centuries, England has been the most powerful and developed nation within the British Isles, exercising strong economic and military influence over its neighbors. However, it may come as a surprise that for much of its early history, England itself was heavily influenced by many neighboring cultures and languages. Since prehistoric times, this land has been the stage for successive waves of migration and conquest. Over the following millennia, different peoples and cultures gradually merged, creating a unique blend of language, culture, and heritage unlike almost anywhere else in the world. But how did this relatively small nation manage to shape not only the future of the British Isles, but also much of the modern world? This is the story of England. The nation of England has been shaped by countless political upheavals, wars, and invasions throughout the centuries. One of the most iconic conflicts in modern history was the Second World War. We all know that the Allies ultimately emerged victorious. But if you have ever wondered how this conflict might have unfolded differently, you can imagine it by playing Call of War, which kindly sponsored this video. In this free online real-time strategy game, you can face off against 100 other players. The game is a large-scale PvP strategy that can last for weeks before reaching its conclusion, making it perfect for fans of long-term strategy games. You can recruit many different military units to build your army, including tanks, aircraft, and even nuclear weapons. You can also form alliances with other players as part of your grand strategy. Call of War can be played on both PC and mobile using the same account. If you register through the link in the video description, you will receive an exclusive reward of 13,000 gold and a 1-month premium subscription completely free. This offer is valid for only 30 days after the video is published, so do not miss it. The land that would one day become the nation of England looked very different to the first people who settled there during the prehistoric Stone Age. At that time, the British Isles were not even islands. They were connected to continental Europe by a land bridge. When the last ice age ended around 11,000 years ago, melting ice sheets caused sea levels to rise. This gradually flooded the low-lying land bridge known as Doggerland and permanently separated Great Britain from the European continent. Despite this geographical separation, communication and cultural exchange between the peoples of the continent and those living on the island continued. Agriculture, which originated in the Middle East, reached this land around 4,000 years before the Common Era. Around the same time, the first permanent settlements appeared. People constructed monumental tombs and ceremonial stone circles such as the famous Stonehenge. As the Stone Age gradually gave way to the Bronze Age, England largely followed the same developments seen across the rest of Europe. Similar cultural and linguistic practices spread through new waves of migration from the continent. Over time, Celtic culture emerged, and by the 12th century, it had become widespread across much of Western Europe. Life for the Celtic peoples of England continued in much the same way for several centuries. But in 55 years before the Common Era, an invading force unlike anything the islanders had ever seen arrived. The Roman Republic, soon to become the Roman Empire, was the undisputed superpower of the ancient world. It had already expanded across the Mediterranean and had recently conquered the lands of modern-day France. The Roman general responsible for that conquest was none other than Julius Caesar. His ambitions soon turned toward the lands across the English Channel. His first invasion achieved little more than landing with his army on the shore, So the following year, in 54 years before the Common Era, he launched a second and larger invasion. Roman legions advanced as far as the northern bank of the River Thames. Despite this success, the Romans were unable to establish a permanent foothold and eventually withdrew back to the continent. Nevertheless, they remained convinced that the island could and should be conquered. Nearly a century later, the Roman Emperor Claudius ordered a carefully planned and fully supported invasion. In the year 43 of the Common Era, Roman legions once again landed on the island. Over the following decades, they gradually advanced across the land and brought almost all of what is now England under Roman rule. Many towns and settlements were founded during this time, including London, Chester, and York. Although Roman authority was occasionally challenged by local uprisings, such as the famous rebellion led by Queen Boudica in the year 60 of the Common Era, England remained part of the Roman Empire for several centuries. Its northern frontier was marked by the construction of Hadrian's Wall. Like all empires in history, however, Rome was not destined to last forever. By the beginning of the 5th century, its power and influence had declined significantly. The final Roman legions were withdrawn from England in the year 407 to defend the more valuable parts of the empire on the continent, which were threatened by migrating barbarian tribes. Soon, some of those tribes turned their attention toward England. This set in motion a series of events that would ultimately shape the language, culture, and history of the English people. These Germanic tribes, collectively known as the Anglo-Saxons, began migrating to England sometime during the 4th century. At first, they likely served as mercenaries in the Roman army. But by the middle of the 5th century, significant numbers of them had settled in the eastern parts of the country. The exact nature of this process remains a subject of debate among historians. Some argue that it involved a large-scale invasion and the violent displacement of the native Celtic population. Others suggest a more gradual and relatively peaceful process of cultural assimilation. Whatever the case, the Anglo-Saxons gradually replaced Romano-British culture with their own Germanic traditions and way of life. The language they introduced would eventually evolve into the English language spoken today. Despite sharing a common language, culture, and religion, the Anglo-Saxons remained politically divided. They established several independent kingdoms. By the 7th century, the native British population had retreated to the western parts of the island, such as Wales and Cornwall. In the east, 7 Anglo-Saxon kingdoms emerged: East Anglia, Essex, Kent, Sussex, Mercia, Northumbria, and Wessex. These kingdoms formed the foundation of what would eventually become a unified English nation. Over time, the Anglo-Saxons abandoned their old pagan beliefs and converted to Christianity. Their kingdoms competed for dominance, fighting wars both against one another and against neighboring British realms. By the late 8th century, the Anglo-Saxon world had consolidated into several larger kingdoms, including Northumbria, Mercia, East Anglia, and Wessex. But soon, a new threat appeared on the horizon. Fleets of longships suddenly began to appear off the English coast. The Viking Age had begun. The Peasants' Revolt of 1381 led to widespread unrest throughout the country. The disturbances were most intense in southeastern England, where rebels stormed London and killed several government officials whom they blamed for their grievances. Order was eventually restored, but the situation in England remained unstable. The unpopular King Richard II was deposed in 1399 by his cousin, who became King Henry IV. His reign was also troubled by crises and rebellions, but they were largely suppressed thanks to the military actions of his son and heir, Henry V, who ascended the throne in 1413. During the reign of King Henry V, England witnessed some of the most defining events in its history. Among them was the renewal of the 100 Years' War with France and the stunning English victory at the Battle of Agincourt in 1415. That victory became legendary in English history. However, Henry's premature death in 1422 marked the beginning of a reversal in England's fortunes. His young son Henry VI inherited the throne, but his reign was marked by devastating defeats in the continuing war with France. By 1453, England had been pushed out of nearly all of its continental territories. In the following years, dissatisfaction among the nobility grew, leading to another civil war. It erupted in 1455 and became known as the Wars of the Roses. The name came from the symbols of the two rival branches of the Plantagenet dynasty, the White Rose of York and the Red Rose of Lancaster. The conflict lasted for nearly 30 years. Eventually, Henry Tudor, the last surviving male of the Lancastrian line, returned from exile in France and defeated King Richard III at the Battle of Bosworth in 1485. A new dynasty then took the English throne. England entered a period of relative peace after the houses of Lancaster and York were united through the marriage of King Henry VII and Elizabeth of York. This marked the beginning of the Tudor dynasty. The war-ravaged economy gradually began to recover. At the same time, the ideas of the Renaissance that had emerged in Italy began to spread into English society. When Henry VII died in 1509, he was succeeded by his son Henry VIII. His reign began with promise, but later became one of the most turbulent and controversial in English history. Much of what happened during his rule was driven by his desire for a male heir. His first marriage to Catherine of Aragon produced only one surviving daughter, Mary. After the Pope refused to grant him a divorce, Henry broke away from the Catholic Church and established the Church of England. This decision caused enormous religious upheaval within the country and began a period of religious conflict that would last nearly a century. Henry VIII's later marriages were equally dramatic. His second wife, Anne Boleyn, was executed after giving birth to a daughter, the future Queen Elizabeth. His third wife, Jane Seymour, died after giving birth to his son Edward. His fourth marriage ended in divorce. His fifth wife, Catherine Howard, was executed for adultery. His sixth and final wife, Catherine Parr, was the only one who survived him and kept both her reputation and her life. After Henry VIII's death in 1547, his son Edward VI ascended the throne. During his reign, England became even more strongly Protestant. However, his rule was short. Edward died of tuberculosis in 1553. He was succeeded by his half-sister Mary, who was married to King Philip II of Spain. A devout Catholic, she attempted to return England to the Catholic faith. Her reign was marked by brutal persecution of Protestants. Around 280 people were burned at the stake, earning her the nickname Bloody Mary. She also failed to produce an heir, and after her death in 1558, the English crown passed to her half-sister Elizabeth. During the reign of Queen Elizabeth I, England entered its golden age. The Church of England was restored, and a degree of religious tolerance was introduced. Government administration was strengthened, new laws were introduced, and the state became more effectively organized. England's population grew significantly, and by the beginning of the 17th century had reached around 5 million people. This period also witnessed an extraordinary flowering of culture. Writers such as William Shakespeare produced works that would become famous throughout the world. At the same time, England began to emerge as a great maritime power. explorers and naval commanders, such as Sir Francis Drake and Sir Walter Raleigh, led expeditions to newly discovered lands and defended the country against threats like the Spanish Armada. Queen Elizabeth died without an heir. After her death in 1603, the English throne passed to the Scottish king James VI of the Stuart dynasty, who became King James I of England. This event is known as the Union of the Crowns. Although he ruled both countries, England and Scotland remained separate kingdoms. James's reign faced several challenges. The most famous was the Gunpowder Plot, in which a group of Catholics attempted to blow up the king and Parliament. During this period, the first permanent English colonies were also established in America and India. These would later become the foundation of the British Empire. In the later years of James's reign, tensions between the Crown and Parliament continued to grow. The conflict reached its peak during the rule of his son, Charles I. Disputes over authority, religion, and governance led to the outbreak of the English Civil War in 1642. The war was fought between the Royalists, who supported the king, and the parliamentarians, known as the Roundheads. After years of bitter fighting, the parliamentary army, led by Oliver Cromwell, emerged victorious. King Charles I was executed in 1649, and England briefly became a republic. The monarchy was restored in 1660 when Charles II returned to the throne. However, the country remained fragile. London was struck by two devastating disasters: the Great Plague of 1665 and the Great Fire of 1666. After the death of Charles II in 1685, the throne passed to his brother James II. This triggered another political crisis, since James was a Catholic. Many English politicians feared he would return the country to Catholic rule. They therefore invited his Protestant daughter Mary and her husband William of Orange to take power. Thus began the Glorious Revolution. In 1688, William landed in England with an army. James II lost support and fled to France. William and Mary became joint rulers of England. In 1689, they accepted the Bill of Rights, which significantly limited the power of the monarchy and established the supremacy of Parliament. During the reign of Queen Anne, the Parliaments of England and Scotland were united. In 1707, the Kingdom of Great Britain was created. After Queen Anne's death, the crown passed to the German Prince George of Hanover. From that moment onward, England was no longer a separate, sovereign state, but part of the United Kingdom of Great Britain. Over the following centuries, Britain became a powerful maritime and trading nation. The expansion of the British Empire made it the largest empire in world history. The Industrial Revolution accelerated the country's economic growth and strengthened its global influence. However, in the 20th century, the two world wars severely weakened British power. Nevertheless, the last 2,000 years of history have left a profound mark on the modern English nation. Its people are descended from many different groups that arrived on its shores over the centuries. The legacy of these events may not always be visible, but it is clearly reflected in the modern English language.